For today's Wellbeing Wednesday, I want to talk to you about learning. Research shows us that learning can help to improve and maintain our overall well-being in many positive ways. It does this by boosting our self-confidence, raising our sense of self-acceptance and self-awareness, helps to increase our sense of purpose and growth, and can even in some ways help us to connect with other people, which we know that those social connections also help to improve our well-being in many different ways. Well, when we're thinking about learning and what are some of the best ways that we can foster learning, sleep plays a really key role. We know that sleep is going to be very important before we have our learning and afterwards in many different ways. So if we think about having our brains being prepared to take in new information and to learn, you think about that sponge that's ready to soak up information. When we are sleeping and we have a good night of sleep, a good night of rest before we're about to learn something, we can find that we are going to have a much more improved ability to retain information and to learn. If we're not getting quality sleep and our brain isn't able to really be in that ideal space, think about that sponge that's already saturated, that it can't soak up any more information. When we find that we're exposed to any type of sleep deprivation, even losing an hour or so at night, it can reduce our abilities to learn by 40% deficit in the ability to be able to encode new memories and new learning. So we think about how it can shut down the brain. If you think of it as that inbox where the message is going to bounce back out instead of being able to be stored and saved. It's the same thing with getting rest and sleep after we have learned something. That's going to be like hitting the save button. We know that when we're in deep sleep, the deep sleep brain waves and sleep spindles are part of that process where we're taking that information and we're encoding it from short to longer term memory, transferring it from the hippocampus to the cortex to have longer. We also know that many times as we're sleeping, there's this bit of memory replay that happens where the memory is happening again, that learning, almost if we think of it as etching it into our brains so that we are less likely to have interference or forgetting. The other exciting thing is when we're getting quality sleep, it helps our brains to sort out what information that we've learned can be replaced. So for instance, paying attention to where you parked your car. Well, if you park it at a different place each day, you don't need to constantly remember the last place, just where it is that you're going to now to pick up your car. So knowing that getting a good quality night's sleep is going to be one of the best things we can do for learning, and by improving our learning and being lifelong learners, it can then help us to improve our overall well-being. Be well.